Pretty hard to acknowledge that one of the most infamous April Fool's jokes in the Counter-Strike community has now become a reality. I just hope they aren't getting too many ideas. Here are 5 covert skins, and here is a knife that has magically appeared. Never thought I would see the day where this would actually be possible. I'd say many people have learned the dangers of investing in a video game market with zero regulations, and reevaluated whether or not they are overinvested. To others, we have been through moments like these before. Valve destroying the market is nothing new. Throughout all of this chaos, which has sent certain knives and gloves down 50% or more, and on the opposite side, the absolutely insane peaks of covert skins, it has been a wild day trying to keep up with all of the news. Especially when Valve baits us by making these items untradeable upon the initial release, and changing that just a few minutes later when everyone thought it was a false alarm. Well, it seems to be the updates of all updates. Maybe Valve attacking gambling sites in 2016 and the closure of OP skins had a stronger reaction. But just a few days ago, the CS2 skins market was worth $6 billion. It's different this time. For those unaware, Valve have just released an update October 22nd, which allows you to trade up covert items from any case collection to a knife or gloves. It all depends on the items used in the trade up. If you put 5 P90 Asimovs from the Breakout collection into a trade up, you will get a butterfly knife from that case. If you put 5 MP7 Bloodspores from the Clutch case into a trade up, you will get the gloves from that case. Trading skins for knives has been a long-running April Fool's joke, and now it's actually real. As you would expect, this update caused quite a frenzy, and Valve weren't making it any easier on us. There were so many questions, like why 5? Only 5 covert skins compared to the regular 10. Which knives and gloves can be obtained? How are floats affected? How do StatTrack skins work? Can collection skins be used in a trade-up? How many knives will be flooding the markets a week from now? Which sites are scamming users by reverting trades? Why would Valve even do something like this? And did Chinese investors know all about this in advance? Now that we have had a day to experiment and watch initial reactions, it's time to start breaking down this insane update. There is still a ton of confusion around certain aspects of these trade-ups, so let's get those out of the way. StatTrack coverts can be used in trade-ups. Mostly. Because gloves don't come in StatTrack, if you grab a StatTrack covert from a case that contains gloves, you cannot use them in a trade-up. That is how it stands today, but with non-StatTrack skins likely to become much more expensive than StatTrack, I wonder if Valve will make changes in the near future. But for knives, you get a StatTrack knife, nothing unexpected there. In terms of the knives and the finishes, it's all based on the collection. If you want a chance at the 387 Karambit case hardened, you will need to pick coverts that come from cases containing the OG collections. If you want a butterfly fade, you need a Cyrex or Asimov. Trade-ups in general have also been changed. This is true for all items in the game, but considering that everyone is spamming knife and glove trade-ups right now, keep this in mind. The float you receive from a trade-up is now weighted by its float cap. We only see Dopplers in factory new and minimal wear because those items are float capped at 0.08. For skins like the Revolver Blaze, the low float cap and the amount of items redeemed created a sea of extremely low float examples that were often used in trade-ups. With this new update, my Quad Zero Blaze would act like a 0006 float skin if used in a trade-up. Alternatively, if you threw a field-tested Galil Chatterbox, which is float capped at 0.35 into a trade-up, you would receive a factory new knife as the float cap works in the other direction for this skin. Long story short, ignore the whole factory new to battle-scarred scale, and think about float as a percentage. If it's a skin with a full float range, nothing has changed. If it's a skin that's float capped at minimal wear, you will need 00 or lower to guarantee factory new. And all of this answers another important question. When this update dropped, I thought factory new Pandoras were going to absolutely tank as people spam trade-ups with the proper inputs. Well, if we look at the Buzzkill with a 0.7 cap and the Dragonfire with a 0.5 cap, combined with a 0.06 cap on Pandoras, you will need insanely low floats to achieve factory new. So no, factory new gloves will not be flooding the markets anytime soon. And of course, the big question on everyone's mind. How many knives and gloves are about to enter the markets a week from now when the trade hold has completed? Thank you CS Float, my goats. There are 29 million coverts available. If every single existing covert, every blue, every purple, and every pink were placed into trade-ups, essentially supply is capable of doubling. But it won't, because no one is going to spend the money necessary when supply dries up. The real number would probably be somewhere under 10 million, and we are already seeing trade-ups slow down drastically as coverts have hit such an insane price. People are no longer comfortable gambling on a Navaja. It's no surprise that covert skins have completely shot to the moon. Sure, we are approaching the point where spamming these trade-ups is not profitable if we haven't already, but the return on investment for cases often floats around 60%. And let's be honest, most people stop opening before they see anything close to that number. When the dust settles, I expect this to be true for trade-ups as well. Wherever the coverts end up, the average price of knives have to be lower. Whether that means coverts will eventually cost hundreds or knives will cost pennies has not been seen yet, but that will depend on the collection. If we look at the Riptide or Dreams and Nightmares case that contains the Butterfly Emerald, expect the coverts from these cases to go nuclear, unlike the Shadow case where there is no real max win. Where the Butterfly Emerald might be one of the only profitable outcomes of a covert trade-up, the Shadow case would have much better odds of getting your money back, assuming people stop buying these skins under the assumption that any coverts can give you any knife. It's also just a mad rush, and people probably aren't checking which collection they're buying. They're just looking for the cheapest covert, but that will change. Other collections that could have horrible odds soon will be cases containing knives that can come as legitimate blue gems. Karambit, Skeleton, Talon, Flip, M9 Bayonet, and Nomad. If you look at AK case-hardened trade-ups, where prices dictate that you won't make your money back unless you get a good pattern, I wouldn't be surprised if coverts from cases that contain these knives see a similar ratio. As of today, you can grab some R8 fades and get the infamous $1.5 million blue gem Karambit. Which, let's be honest, he should have taken that offer, because that price is about to get nuked when YouTubers and streamers start hunting for it. Not to say they haven't already started. But let's take a break and talk about the cases themselves. Overall, it's not good news for my fellow case investors. Case prices were so high because of all the degens opening millions each month, hoping for that max win, and of course, people holding thousands for investment purposes. Well, the max win doesn't really feel like a max win anymore. Sure, the return on investment might be great for these cases with new covert prices, but it's chasing those impossible odds that kept people addicted. Is it wrong to say that unboxing cases feels a little boring now that you can just do a simple trade up and obtain the impossible item? The market has reacted fast. Obviously, everyone is too focused gambling on trade ups to gamble on the cases. But a month from now, will case unboxings feel as interesting as they once were? I say no, and expect a considerable drop for unboxing rates going forward. But maybe that's just personal bias. I would love to hear some differing opinions. And for the investing side, let's be honest, this update is a massive breach of trust. Valve just wiped out billions of dollars. It's that simple. As Valve seemed to also be moving away from the case market, are we really going to say they would never just remove cases from the game? They have shown that completely crashing the markets is a sacrifice they are willing to make, and that should scare anyone heavily invested in this market. And that should get you up to date on what has transpired over the last 24 hours. A point I wanted to touch on is the anger towards Valve after this decision. People lost thousands of dollars. It really hurts those with smaller inventories who buy a nice knife or gloves, and that is their holy grail. Valve just nuked these people, and a good percentage of their inventory value is now gone. Can't say I expected Valve to add these new trade-ups, but Counter-Strike has been shifting for years now. X-Ray case, trade holds, case renting, the armory, Genesis collection. Sure, Valve likes their money and they are making decisions to keep that cash flowing. But there is and has been a movement against loot boxes and gambling in video games. When your digital market that totally does not have any real-world value gets covered by Bloomberg for its investment opportunities, you become quite the target. When the Genesis collection came out, I alluded to the idea that cases may be getting phased out of the game, as Valve continues to get pressured for their involvement in unregulated gambling. This is just another update that supports the idea that Valve are panicking. With the ability to trade up to knives, Valve just need to attach rare items to these new terminals that we will likely be seeing more of, and now you can just buy reds through the terminal and get your knife without ever touching a slot machine. Yes, this is insanely lucrative for Valve, as you now have to buy expensive skins directly through them, and the lowered price of desirable items will get them on the Steam markets again so Valve can take their cut. But calling this simply an act of greed seems short-sighted to me. They may be taking a greedy approach to fixing the heavily manipulated market that Counter-Strike has become, but I doubt this change would have ever happened if there wasn't external pressure. To the people that have been angry about changes that Valve have made in the past, I always have the same perspective. It's this or nothing. Rocket League used to have a trading system, and when a game has trading, that means a gray market. When Epic bought Psyonix, they removed trading from the game, rendering all desirable items worthless unless you sell the account itself. That can happen, and if Valve was a public company with investors to please, they wouldn't be dancing around laws trying to keep this illegal market running. It is a complete market shakeup, billions of dollars lost. Although let's be honest, those billions are the result of manipulation. It's more of a correction than a crash. But it's not zero, and zero is not out of the question. As much as this sucks for everyone who has taken an interest in skins, it isn't the end. And if I'm being honest, I'd say some people are overreacting. But there's also no guarantee that this will be the last update that destroys a part or the entire economy. We have been playing a dangerous game for years, and I don't see this as the final solution to keep skins safe from hitting zero. All it takes is one update, and that's the gamble we all play. Don't forget that when making your next purchase.